San Francisco, 1891. A boy standing in a machine. He's 15 years old. The machine stuffs pickles into cans. His job is to feed it. 10 hours, 12, some days 18. He falls asleep standing up. He wakes still feeding the machine. He earns 10 cents an hour. 20 years later, the boy will be the highest paid writer in America. He'll write about a dog dragged from a warm house into the frozen north, beaten, starved, worked, until something ancient wakes up inside it, and it learns the only law that matters: survive. You have read that book. You think it is about a dog. It was never about a dog. His name was Jack London, and every wild thing he ever wrote, the wolf, the dog, the frozen trail, the survival of the strongest, he was not imagining it, he was remembering it. Here is what he was remembering. Start with a thing that should have been the beginning of a life: warmth, a mother. Jack London did not get that. He was born in January 1876. His mother, Flora, could not or would not nurse him, so the infant was handed to another woman. Her name was Jenny Prentice, a former slave living nearby, who had just lost a child of her own. She took him to her breast and kept him alive. Hold that image, because it is the first law of his entire life. You survive only because something stronger than the world decides to feed you. And if it doesn't, you don't. His father is a harder story. Flora had been living with a man named William Cheney, an astrologer, a drifter of ideas. Before Jack was born, Cheney was gone. Years later, grown, Jack will write to him one letter, asking the only question a son asks: "Are you my father?" Cheney will write back and say no. He will say he was incapable. He will call the whole thing impossible. The first man in Jack London's life looked at him across a continent and denied he existed. So here's the boy, before he's 10, fed by a stranger's kindness, raised by his own father, raised by a mother who kept the household cold. He learns early the lesson every animal in his books will learn: no one is coming to save you. You either are strong enough or you're not. And Jack London decided, before he was a man, that he would be strong enough, whatever it cost. It would cost everything. By 15, Jack London has done the math of poverty. Cannery pays 10 cents an hour. The work eats the body and gives nothing back. He watches man age it did and die inside it. He decides he will not be a work beast. So he borrows money from Jenny Prentice, the woman who fed him, and buys a boat, a small sloop called the Razzle Dazzle. And at 15, Jack London becomes a pirate. He raids the private oyster beds of San Francisco Bay at night and sells the catch at dawn. It is illegal. It is dangerous. In a single night, he can earn what the Cannery paid him in 3 months. He has learned the second law: the strong take, the weak feed machines. He drinks with grown men twice his age. He nearly drowns. He nearly dies more than once, and each time he does not, the lesson hardens. At 17, he ships out on a sailing schooner, the Sophie Sutherland, into the North Pacific. 7 months at sea, storms off the coast of Japan, killing seals until the deck runs with blood. He is a boy among violent men on a killing ship in a freezing ocean, and he is happy because here, finally, the world makes sense. Here, the rule is clean. Strength lives. Weakness sinks. Then, at 18, the road. 1894. America is in depression. Jack joins an army of the unemployed drifting east. He becomes a tramp, riding freight trains, begging for food, sleeping in fields. And in Niagara Falls, he is arrested for vagrancy, for the crime of being poor with nowhere to be. 30 days in the Erie County Penitentiary. He never fully describes what he saw in there. He calls it unprintable, but he comes out changed, because in that cell he understands the final price. The strong are not the ones with the biggest fists. The strong are the ones who own the machine, the boat, the law, the cell. And they had decided, long ago, the boys like him were disposable. So he does something almost no one from his world does. He goes to the library and he starts to read like a man clawing his way out of a pit. 19 hours a day, by his own account. Darwin, Spencer, Marx, Nietzsche. He reads until his eyes bleed. He crams a high school education into months. He forces his way into the University of California and drops out within a year because there is no money. He has decided what he will be. He will not dig for a living. He will not sail for it. He will write. He will turn everything the world did to him into words. And he will sell these words. And he will never be hungry again. There is one thing left. One place that will give him the story that makes him immortal. It's the North. 1897. Gold is found in the Klondike. 100,000 men lose their minds and head for the Yukon. Jack London, 21 years old, is one of them. He climbs the Chilkoot Pass carrying 1,000 pounds of supplies on his back, load by load, up a wall of ice, in a line of desperate men. This is the image to hold, because this is every trail and every book he will ever write. The frozen climb, the killing wait, the men who quit and the men who don't. He reaches the interior. He winters in a cabin on the Yukon, and here's the punchline of the whole gold rush. Jack London finds almost no gold, a few dollars of dust. Nothing. What he finds instead is the cold, 50, 60 degrees below zero, a cold so total it becomes a character. He watches it kill. He watches it separate the men who understand the North from the men who don't, and the ones who don't die fast for a single mistake, a wet foot, a dead match. He is watching in real time the exact law his whole childhood taught him. Nature does not care. Nature does not forgive. Nature feeds the strong and buries the rest under snow. And he gets sick, scurvy, his gums rot, his joints swell, his face goes slack. He comes down the river in the spring of 1898, broke, half crippled, with no gold, but inside him is the whole country of the North. Every trail, every frozen man, every dog. He goes home and he begins to write it down. In 1903, he publishes a short novel about a domesticated dog named Buck, stolen from a comfortable California estate and sold into the frozen North, beaten with a club, starved, forced to pull sleds until the soft house animal dies inside him, and the wolf wakes up. The Call of the Wild. It sells out its first printing in a day. It makes him famous across the world. It has never gone out of print in over a century. Everyone reads it as an adventure story, a dog story, a boy's book about the wilderness. But look at what actually happens in it. A creature is torn from warmth, handed to violence, beaten until it learns that kindness was a lie and only strength survives. And it does not break, it transforms. It becomes the strongest thing in the North. That is not a dog. That is the boy at the Cannery. That is the pirate. That is the tramp in the cell. That is Jack London telling you exactly what happened to him and daring you to think it's about a dog. For a while it works. Jack London becomes the highest paid, most famous writer in America. He writes 1,000 words a day, every day, without exception. Hungover, sick, or grieving, 1,000 words, because the boy who fed the machine now feeds the page. He earns fortunes. White Fang, Sea Wolf, 50 books in 17 years. He buys land in the valley of Sonoma, hundreds of acres. He calls it Beauty Ranch, and he begins to build the house of his life. a great house of stone and redwood he names Wolf House. Think about that name. The boy who was fed by a stranger, denied by his father, jailed for being poor, building a mansion and calling it after the wolf, the strongest animal, the thing that survives. In August 1913, days before he and Champion are to move in, Wolf House burns to the ground in a single night, down to the stone, the dream house of the man who conquered the North, gone before he ever slept in it. He never built it. Something in him does not recover. And here the law he lived by turns on him. As Jack London believed the boy was a machine you drive at full speed, he drank hard, he ate raw and strange, he drove himself past every limit, on the theory that the strong do not rest. But the body is not a wolf, the body keeps a ledger. By his late 30s, his kidneys are failing, a disease called uremia, the body slowly poisoning itself. He is in constant pain. He takes morphine to bear it. On the 22nd of November 1916, Jack London dies at Beauty Ranch. He is 40 years old. For 100 years, people have whispered that he did it to himself, a deliberate overdose. It makes a tidy story, the prophet of strength choosing his own end. But most historians who have actually studied the evidence disagree. The likeliest truth is quieter and sadder. A man in agony from a failing body, taking too much of the drug that dulled the pain. Not a warrior's exit, just a worn-out machine, 40 years old, that had been driven without mercy since it was a child. Now go back to the books, all of them, with one sentence in your head. He was not imagining it, he was remembering it. The call of the wild, a creature torn from warmth, beaten by men with clubs, starved, and forced to become strong or die. We said it already, that is the Cannery. That is the boy handed from his mother to a stranger's arms. White Fang, the mirror image, a wild wolf dog born into savagery and cruelty, slowly, painfully, learning that gentleness might not be a trap, that love might be real. One book asks, what happens when the world beats the softness out of you? The other asks, after all that, could you ever be loved back into a person? Those are not two dog stories. Those are the two questions of Jack London's entire life, written from both ends. The Sea Wolf, a brutal ship captain named Wolf Larsen who believes only in strength, who says the strong devour the weak and calls it the law of life, and who is destroyed by the very philosophy he worships. London is arguing with himself on the page. Wolf Larsen is what the Cannery and the Cell and the North tried to turn him into, and London kills him because some part of him knew that the creed of pure strength was a death sentence. He was right. It was his own. This is the thing about Jack London that the adventure covers hide. He did not write about the wild because he loved excitement. He wrote about the wild because he was raised in one, an America that fed the strong and let the weak feed machines, that denied a child his father and jailed him for being poor. He survived it the only way he knew. He became the wolf, and then the wolf's law, drive the body, never rest, only the strong survive, did to him exactly what it does to every creature in his books. It used him up, and it buried him under the snow. There is a line often attributed to him, though scholars doubt he ever really wrote it. I would rather be ashes than dust. Whether or not the words are truly his, they are the creed he lived, burned hot and fast and completely, rather than smolder safely into old age. He got his wish. He burned. He was ashes at 40. If you go to Glen Ellen today, You can walk up to the ruins of Wolf House. The stone walls still stand, roofless, open to the sky. The house he built to prove he had beaten the world, a beautiful skeleton in the California hills. His ashes are buried nearby, under a plain rock. No monument, no wolf, just a stone. People still read The Call of the Wild. Every year, millions of children thinking it's a story about a dog. It was never about a dog. It was about a boy who was thrown into the cold and who spent his whole short life proving he was strong enough to survive it, right up until the moment he wasn't.